Chat's way down there. That doesn't work for me. All right. I believe we are live for Hello's delivery brief. Today is May 7th, 2025. And this is a short format live stream. We do it every few weeks, keep people apprised of how development and growth of the Holo network is going. And today it's just going to be me. I'm Mary Camacho, the executive director of Holochain, or Holo, excuse me. Used to saying the other one. Okay, so let's just dive in. We've got some updates, a little bit on development, a little bit on a bunch of other things that are happening around our ecosystem, and then we'll do a whole mess of questions that came in actually. So I'll go through all those, and then whatever comes in, we'll try to hit everything. All right, so kick into it. This is basically a current progress on milestones. The team's been busy on the latest milestones, and we're going to show you the roadmap again a little bit later because we got a little bit of a demo that I'm gonna do towards the end of the update. But basically, what the team's been working on is our enhanced API security. We're putting in an API to make it more automated for developers to deploy their applications on the network. And what this means is we're working on the permission integration into the API to make sure that they have granular access control, but still maintaining the privacy by design. So that's super important. They're also working on some developer experience. This is around API documentation. They're building now out. This is really important, but it's really very much for the developer audience because we're putting our docs on Scalar and Redoc. And what this is about is reducing that friction for our partners that it will really help them accelerate their onboarding. Another just internal thing, probably more, is just we've done a refinement on our data model architecture. And then I think more importantly, though, we're really working out the multi-node capabilities. Right now, when we're deploying things out, we're deploying them to specific nodes on the network and sort of doing that on a one-by-one sort of basis. But what we're working on is sort of advancing our HAP execution for deployment across multiple holoports, and this is what really creates that network resilience and geographic distribution that's necessary for hosting. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when we talk about our strategic positioning because I'm going to get into that a little bit. The last thing on the dev update is really just some migration protocols. We are doing some refinement of our pre-migration to make sure that there's just good, smooth system transitions with minimal disruption. So these are kind of things that sound a little fluff, but that's the thing about being infrastructure. There's a lot that happens that's under the hood. It's very technical work that the team is doing right now. And they'll be moving into things that are a little bit more show and tell later that we'll be able to kind of make visible. So, and I'll talk about that when we show the roadmap later. The other thing, so the second thing I really want to talk about, second update today, is really about some holochain scale testing and initiatives. So we're going to be collaborating. This is a little bit of just a preview of what's coming in the next couple of weeks. We're collaborating with the Holochain Foundation on systemic scale testing of the 0.5x release. So this is really exciting news because what it means is that the current version of Holochain is it's demonstrating robust performance in the existing apps that are being tested, right, in the ecosystem. So, but what they need is the broader, larger scale testing that we typically do with holoports. They've built an enhanced testing framework with Wind Tunnel, and that this gives sort of like that comprehensive view of performance. It's the performance envelope. If you guys ever heard Eric Harris Brown talk about it before, I think he maybe wrote something about this in the past. And then essentially what we're going to be doing with them is establishing a dedicated Holoport network for the evaluation. And this is really something that we're going to be doing by reaching out to some of our core community of hosters that have worked with us before on some of the technical testing, that are a little bit more familiar with how the ins and outs of how to manage their Holoport, because that's going to be necessary for this particular test. So we'll have some news on that in the coming week or so, and Rob will be reaching out directly to folks and via email or out on the Holoport forum. So great news on that. And then the last update, the last thing I really want to dive into before we do the demo in and thing is kind of like a little bit of a strategic market positioning update. Um, and some of the stuff I've said before, and some of it's a little new. The strategic, most of us know that Holo's original promises were to bridge holochain apps onto web browsers. Essentially, with our milestones that we've achieved right now, we've kind of hit that. We've achieved that. We're able to run holochain applications, and we're able to have people go get at them from browsers, access the data, and all of that. And that's really great. And we are onboarding more holochain products to the network right now as we speak. So this is really important work that we've done. The thing is we can be top dog in that market, and it won't grow the hosting business widely in the next year because the total addressable market of holochain applications just isn't sufficient for infrastructure, the kind of infrastructure providing that we're doing right now. And this is why holo hosting is really kind of something more hybrid and meeting people where they are. This is really important. When we started off, we were mentally in this future world, one where distributed technologies were being used for all manner of day-to-day applications, because that's what holochain is enabling. But realistically, right now, if you look at how the technology landscape has evolved, it's a little different than that. Financial applications really have embraced decentralization, and so have a few other areas. But most sectors have maintained centralized architectures or hybrid models. The thing is that there's still an much bigger expanded opportunity. There's a growing segment of organizations right now that are really seeking alternatives to big tech monopolies. And that's who has basically the cloud infrastructure today. It's the same companies that people are doing, social media on and those things. And on most of these companies, but all these new organizations that are looking to create alternatives, they're still operating on traditional tech stacks. And they're building things with user data, sovereignty in mind. They show up, if you look out for them, as privacy first companies, ethical tech companies. These value aligned organizations, for them, we represent a concrete alternative in the cloud infrastructure space because we're demonstrating community-owned infrastructure that really can liberate them from that dependence on big tech, but without requiring them to do a complete technological transformation. So when I talk about us doing work to get in there and identify who are the players in this space, that's what I'm talking about. It's about identifying who are these valued aligned organizations, who's already building these things, and how do we build out our market for this. And so what I'm saying by this insight is what's driving our comprehensive rebranding and also our new website development. We're really positioning Holo as infrastructure for organizations that are seeking greater digital sovereignty through incremental steps, making community ownership accessible without technical specialized knowledge. This is critical, and I want to talk about this a bit more. It allows us a parallel growth trajectory, one that is focused on the decentralized application ecosystem and especially holochain projects, but also giving us a way to capture some of that market share from organizations looking for alternatives to corporate infrastructure. So this is really where our core advantage is at this intersection. We're the only community-owned hosting that delivers this business level performance while really progressively advancing distributed architecture. That is key for Holo's positioning in the market. Now, I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to just do a fun little preview of where we are with the website. I know a lot of people have been asking about that in recent days, maybe weeks, and let me figure out how I can do a screen share. I don't usually do screen shares, but yeah, here we go. So here we are. So this is not live yet. You can see it's at a very strange place right now. That's where we are. And this is our product roadmap, and which is awesome. We are as you can see, this looks a little different than the PDF that went out. This is now data driven. We're updating data on this. When you come in, it'll have a little bit more information than what you would have gotten on a screenshot. A screenshot. In the past, we're explaining what these things are, marking them done as we go. We're currently, you can see, working on the things I was talking about, which is the Cloud Console API and the refreshed actual access for devs on that. So the Cloud Console is the self-service portal, and we're making sure people can get logged in, get their API keys, interact with the API directly. This is some of the stuff that's there, and this goes all the way down with everything there. They're ordered in the way that we think we're going to get them done. Order might change here and there. That's one of the things we can do now. But you can see we've got a lot of other things going. So I'll just take a quick peek over here at our blog. We've got some stuff that's coming up in the future, some of the things you've seen in the past where we did our April release of the cloud nodes and the web bridge, and we talked a lot about that. So we're going to have the blog right there on the page. There's a bunch of stuff on here. We've got all of this stuff coming out. So that is the website, and there's a little bit more to it than that in the sense that we've been building this from a bunch of different places. We're pulling it all together. So just showing, because I know a lot of people like the show and tell aspect of this, and yeah. So that is where we're going, and that'll be coming soon. I know that's been a big question. I don't have an exact date on it because we're just working on it page by page until it's ready to go. There's a lot of things though in the next few weeks, updates that are going to go out, blog posts that are going to go out, and initiatives that we're going to be getting started with. This month is a big month for Holo. So let's kick into questions. All right. When will the new website go online? I think I just answered that one. Very soon, this month. Is the Bybit delist news within the knowledge of the team? Yes. Did you see any problems? Are you focusing on other partners because it's not your priority? Well, I think I posted out there on X about this one, but absolutely. We didn't do anything to get on Bybit. We're not in communication with them. They've very little activity out on that particular exchange. It's not one that we do focus on particularly. And I understand some people may use it, but we have a limited, we have a limited team and a limited focused coordination with exchanges. And so we're really putting our attention onto the ones that matter for us the most. When will Holoport owners receive Allograph network migration? Well, Holoport owners will receive a bunch of different information in the coming month. Some of them might be migrated to Allograph. Some will be specifically being migrated into the network that's going to be testing Holochain. So there's a bunch of different things happening with Holoport networks. How many holoports are currently needed to meet hosting demand on holo-host? I do not have that answer. It changes every week. And so that's a question I'll have to have somebody else answer out on the channels. Will Hot be swapped into Unit or Holofuel when the time comes? Unit is the name of a company. Holofuel is the name of a currency, but I don't know if it's going to be still named Holofuel or not. I've heard varying things from the Unit team, and I know that there's some activity going on over there, but we're working on getting coordinated on that a little bit later. I don't have a time frame for y'all on that, but when the time comes, yes, Holofuel or its new name is going to be what we would migrate to and what we would swap to. Is the Holo team under the radar of European Union? That's an interesting question that I don't know how to answer. Holo, the company, is based in Gibraltar. Gibraltar is technically a UK territory. We are not in the EU as a company incorporated headquarters. That doesn't mean that our customers or some of our services are not being provided in the EU. So it depends on what you're looking at there. How far along is Holo with the UI of HoloFuel v2? Well, Holo right now is not building a UI for HoloFuel v2, and any questions about UIs for currencies that are going to be managed on Unit are something that I really think the Unit team will need to answer directly. So it's very interesting. Is there a risk of hot token being delisted from Binance? What is the current status in your relationship with Binance? Staying listed on major exchanges is critical for investor confidence. I agree with that. Can you offer a concrete assurance about this, or should the community prepare for possible delisting? So there's no conversation about delisting with Binance at all. We are not in that kind of conversation. We are in regular communication with Binance. And yes, staying listed and being listed on the critical, important exchanges that we partner with is a priority. Great. Regarding HOTS tokens, let's stick with hot token today. Regarding HOTS token listing in the US, even if I can't give an exact date, I should be able to provide a realistic time frame. I'm sorry, but I am not able to provide a realistic time frame for what other companies do. This is the problem. Everybody wants this to be done on a time frame that Holo gets to talk about, and the reality is that we're working with others who get to say. So that's how it goes. I don't have a time frame on which that is. The companies in the US that are listing tokens, their listing teams are swamped. Everybody in the world wants to be listed in the United States. And right now, as you know, there's perhaps a greater opportunity for alt tokens to be listed in the United States. And therefore, these teams are swamped. I have no idea how swamped. And they don't tell you all of their details about their internals of their business. And so we are in coordination and pushing forward for this. And I have no time frame whatsoever to provide for you at this time. Hello. I have a question and I'd really appreciate it I could be answered during the online stream. I previously reached out but haven't received a message yet. I run an online store and want to know if it's possible to host it on the Holo network infrastructure. And if not, could you please share when this might become possible? Wow, this is a fabulous question. I would say, okay, so this is a Shopify, I believe, online store. And Shopify is a platform, and Shopify basically is the customer that has to contract for hosting, cloud hosting for their platform. So I don't think that as a one-off, you could take anything on Shopify and get it hosted on Holo. Now that's not to say that you won't be able to do a lot of other things, and there aren't going to be e-commerce opportunities for hosting on Holo. That's exactly where we're moving towards. And we're starting with things like, and we've got this on our roadmap. There are a lot of things that people who are values aligned, who know they want to get away from big tech platforms, big tech hosting cloud providers, and a lot of the folks that we know are sort of have taken over the internet essentially, and want to get out back to a community-owned sort of internet. Yes, we are building the infrastructure for that. The milestones that we have in the future, where we're getting to static site hosting and static asset hosting, these are the building blocks of being able to host the types of applications and websites and things like that that many of you want to put on a distributed cloud. This is exactly where we're headed with Holo. This is exactly why the market is growing and wants, we have a market that we can go after, that people who want something different now. So appreciate the question. Unfortunately, I don't think we can help you with Shopify, but there are a lot of open source e-commerce projects that you can basically host your own e-commerce, and those are going to be the types of applications that Holo will be better suited for. All right. How do we plan to attract more developers? I think that's a question for the Holochain Foundation, because we're attracting customers, people who want to host their projects on cloud infrastructure. Holochain, which is an application framework, is looking at attracting developers to build applications in using distributed software. So what is actually happening with HoloFuel? Is it actually called piecework now? And if so, is that what people will get hosting for the hot token swap? So no, I don't. I know it's a little complex here, and I know that people are listening to two different teams talk about something that is related but a little bit complex. One of the reasons we pulled these things apart is because of the fundamental differences of what people are building. HoloFuel is a mutual credit currency, and Piecework is an implementation of mutual credit that actually is functioning now in a new way. They re-architected how it works a little bit. Not entirely, but they made it more usable by a wider group of people. Are we going to call it piecework? No, that's not going to be the name of the currency or what we are going to swap into, but it's an integral part and an implementation of and a proof of what is necessary to actually have these things work. And so that's what they're working on. If you really have more questions about that, you need to sort of dig in and talk to the unit group. I know that they are doing live streams as well, doing demos and all sorts of things in other areas. I think they've been did something recently with the Holochain Foundation as well. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Excuse me, I'm kind of getting a frog in my throat. Let's see, will you be doing a proper marketing campaign for Aligraph? So Aligraph is an internal network name. I'm really sorry. We put a blog post out that said we had a name for our network. We're not calling it allograph. We're not marketing the term allograph. We will never market the term allograph. It is the name of, like, are you on the legacy network or are you on the allograph network? That's it. That's all it is. And that's how we're going to use it. I don't need anybody to know it exists. Holo exists. Holo is cloud infrastructure. Holo is doing marketing. People are going to find Holo and they're going to see things about Holo. We're putting out a new website for Holo. Okay. That is the way that we're talking about it. When we talk to our community, you all, the ones who show up in our, Q&As, the ones that read all of our updates, we give you more like internal details about what's going on. We write updates and information about the internal pieces of how we do business and how we talk about things. And that's what Allograph was. And that's what Allograph is. We're not getting rid of it. It's the name. It's how we distinguish one network from another. So yes, we will be doing proper marketing campaigns, and we're doing sales initiatives now, and we're doing direct sales reach out now. And those things kind of are coordinated together and they'll come in their time. All right. Will you be organizing Holo into a properly run business with the CFO? Hot price is terrible. Holo is a properly run business, and the hot price is terrible. I got it. And that does happen to different organizations right now. And I get it. The thing is we're a business that's building out a real product for a marketplace. And hot prices sometimes are not driven by the realities of what we actually build and what we do. And sometimes they are. And sometimes we get hit hard with external market forces that have nothing to do with us. And sometimes we get hit hard with other people making assessments when it's not based on reality. So this is what happens when you have sort of a signal out there in the marketplace that is not controlled by the company. I want you to really get that. We don't control the price. We can do things that impact it. And we're doing the things that impact it the most that are actually properly doing business, which is building the business the right way and delivering value to customers and building out and growing our customer base. That's what's important to us. Startups use external sources such as non-executive boards, technology partners. These include experienced people with relevant experience. That's right. Also, official user focus groups are used for feedback. Why didn't Holo use these types of groups, and isn't it time to do so to get back on track? Actually, we have the Holochain Foundation is bringing on new folks as well onto their board. We've brought a corporate director onto our board. We are doing those sorts of things, and we will continue to do things like that. Can anyone host on Holo? Right now, Holochain applications can host on Holo, and we're working towards the milestones to make anybody be able to host applications and websites on Holo. Why are you so secretive about progress, partnerships, and in general? We're not. We put updates out every single month. We tell you guys more than most companies talk about, and we are not doing anything to keep it under wraps. So you said the market isn't sufficient for increasing the infrastructure. How is that not your fault by generating interest and convincing people to jump on board? Or why is that? No excuses, please. Great. Holochain developers are who we were created to support originally, all the way from the beginning. And I'll say this is probably a third time in just in this live stream. We were instantiated to provide hosting for Holochain applications. Holochain is working great now, but it's taken a long time to get there. We understand that. Maybe that's a whole other conversation that you guys don't want to hear about, but it's the reality that there are only so many holochain applications. We are onboarding holochain applications onto the Holo network as customers. It is an insufficient market, which is why we shifted gears a few months back to make sure that we could widen out our market and strategically go after a much larger target market. This is what we're doing. We're delivering on it now. I wonder if there are enough organizations focused on community-owned architecture to drive value. Like, how large is it? We'll keep you posted. But basically, if you go do your own research on a lot of the terms that I was talking about, you'll find there's more and more of them right now. And the way that the world's been going with more surveillance, more government oversight, more people getting into other people's business, it's growing significantly. And a lot of people are really looking for privacy-oriented technologies, and those privacy, by design. You look up that term, it's growing significantly. There are all sorts of businesses moving in this direction right now because users want it. How would you describe your success after 7 years and yet not having a publicly used product? Well, we do have a publicly used product and we have a small customer base. I get it. That's what we have. I think that finishes up for today. Those are all the questions. It's been lovely being out with you guys and chatting, and I hope I answered everything that came in. Let's see if there's any other things in our chat just to be sure. Don't see anything. Have a great Wednesday. Have a great May, and we'll be talking to you in the future soon.